You've clicked on this video because you've been betrayed and you're wondering, what psychological work do I have to do to get over this betrayal? Well, you're in the right place. My name is Kassandra Malik. I'm a registered clinical social worker and a certified relationship coach. Betrayal's hard. I've personally been through betrayal and it rocked my world. I couldn't trust myself. I had difficulty trusting other people, but I'm happy to say that after doing the steps that we're going to be talking about, things have gotten a lot better. But what I didn't expect is that much of my healing didn't have to do with the other person. It had everything to do with the work that I did on myself. Before we get into the topic of betrayal and how to recover from it, I think it's really important to acknowledge that you're here and you're willing to do the work. So in the comments, I want you to write an empowering statement so we can encourage anyone who's watching this video that we can recover from betrayal trauma. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. The same 7 steps that I talked to my clients about and that I utilized myself. Step number 1, acknowledge and feel your feelings. When you've been betrayed, you're going to be in a state of shock. And after the shock, there can be a flooding of feelings like grief, anger, rage, sadness. And our job in step number 1 is to feel all of those feelings. It hurts. And sometimes we become dismissive of our feelings by saying things like, I should get over this. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. What happened has psychologically changed who you are and how you think and how you feel. If we're going to get through the betrayal trauma, we have to feel all of the feelings. So you can't heal what you don't feel. So it's really important to just allow yourself to go through all of the ranges of emotions. Once you're done feeling the feelings, you can move into step number 2, which is rebuilding your self-concept. Self-concept is the way that you view yourself. And one of the biggest hits that gets impacted by betrayal is your identity, your self-concept. You might find yourself suddenly asking, was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Did I miss something? Am I unworthy? Or you might be telling yourself, it's all my fault. First of all, we have to separate things. That is the betrayal talking, not the truth. It's really important to separate these things because a core wound has been activated within you. And so core wounds really quickly can be things like abandonment, rejection, feelings of unworthiness. Regardless of what the wound is, we have to understand that these beliefs are coming from that wounded place. In order to start changing it, we have to do something to start rebuilding our self-concept. So that could look like one small promise to yourself every day. This stage of work is about reconnecting to your self-worth and separating who you are from what someone else chose to do. This work can look like journaling, affirmations, even coaching or therapy can help to remind you that you are still you. And what this person did isn't a reflection of who you are. For myself personally, journaling was my thing. And it's really interesting to read journal entries from, even a year ago to now to see the shift in self-concept and the work that has been done to rebuild my self-worth. If you need support or ideas on how to do this, feel free to download my Healing Starter Kit. I'll link it in the description. And within that Healing Starter Kit is a link to my private Facebook group where a lot of what is discussed is about self-concept and rebuilding it after heartbreak. So feel free to check that out. Step number 3, process the trauma response. Betrayal can trigger PTSD-like symptoms, and maybe you've noticed it. Racing thoughts, your heart rate increasing, replaying the betrayal over and over again, trouble sleeping, jumping at every little thing. That's your nervous system stuck in overdrive. This is where psychological tools like grounding techniques, breathing exercises, or even modalities like EMDR come in. When you engage in these types of exercises, you're teaching your body in that moment that you are safe. One of my favorite grounding strategies is the 3-3-3 rule, which is 3 things that you can see, 3 things that you can hear, and 3 things that you can feel in your body. And when you're having that dysregulation, so your nervous system is stuck, you can try the 3-3-3. Super quick, takes less than 30 seconds, and it can help regulate your emotions in those moments. So try it out. Step 4, challenging cognitive distortions. Here's the sneaky part about betrayal. It changes how you think. You might catch yourself saying things like, I can never trust anyone again, or it must be all my fault, I caused this. What's important to know is that these are distortions. The work here is to notice them, take a pause, really think about what you're saying to yourself and validate if it's true or not. So if the thought, for example, is, it's all my fault, step back and just look at that. Did you cause that person to do the betrayal? Did you force them to do that? Probably not. So we're able to reframe that thought, that distortion, because it's not your fault. You didn't force that person to do anything. They consciously chose to do whatever betrayal that they proceeded with. Take the pause. Really important, and really identify whether or not what is being said in your mind is true or not. Step number 5, redefine safety and boundaries. When you've been betrayed, psychological safety is shattered. One way of reclaiming it is by setting boundaries, and these can be boundaries for yourself or boundaries for other people. So a boundary for self can be, I'm not contacting the person that betrayed me. A boundary for others is, when that person contacts me, I'm not going to respond. It's really important that you start to create these psychological safeguards for yourself, especially after betrayal. Not only does it help you to create safety for yourself, but it can be a very empowering experience to start to say no to things that are no longer serving you and that have hurt you in the past. Now, we have to be careful here though, because sometimes we can go to extremes and have really rigid boundaries, and sometimes we can have no boundaries. So it's really important to find the middle ground that still honors your needs, but still allows people to come in when you choose to let them in. Another boundary that could be really powerful here is if someone asks you about the betrayal. I had this a number of times in my life when I was going through my own experience, and I didn't want to talk about it. Talking about it would trigger emotions, and then I would feel unsafe. One statement that I practiced over and over again was, I'm not ready to talk about it yet. A very simple boundary that once I voiced, people would respect. So please focus on your boundaries and keeping yourself psychologically safe while you process what's been happening to you. Step number 6, work on forgiveness if you want to. Here's what I mean. You don't have to forgive the person that has betrayed you. Contrary to popular belief, you don't really have to. But what you have to do is start to forgive yourself. So oftentimes when we've been betrayed, we start to blame ourselves for that betrayal. I should have known better. I didn't see the red flags. This is all my fault. And so we need to lean into ourselves and forgive the parts that have been critical. First of all, it doesn't help anyone when we're critical to ourselves. Second of all, owning the blame and shame for whatever betrayal has happened doesn't serve you. It just perpetuates those negative beliefs that you have about yourself. One way to remedy self-blame is self-compassion. It's so important that we know how to be kind to ourselves, especially during periods like this when everything is already so messed up. Self-compassion can look like keeping one promise to yourself a day, and it could be the simplest promise, like, I'm going to do an affirmation every day. That is something kind that you can do for yourself. Or any of the previous steps that we've just talked about, like redefining cognitive distortions. Those are ways that can put us on the path of self-forgiveness. And as we go through self-forgiveness, we may start to want to forgive that person, but there's no judgment here. Forgive them or don't. It's important to really go inward and forgive those parts of you that feel responsible for what has happened. Step 7, reclaim your narrative. Betrayal doesn't have to be the headline of your story. And truthfully, maybe you want it to for a period of time. So, for instance, with myself, It was the headline of my story for a period of time, the infidelity. But as I grew and I healed and I did the 6 previous steps that we talked about, I didn't want it to be my story anymore. I was done with it. I didn't want it to have any more power. So I rewrote my story. And you can too. Your story can start to shift from I was betrayed and I'm broken to I was betrayed and I got stronger and I learned from it and I healed. How do we rewrite our stories? Well, we start to challenge these negative cognitive distortions that we have, and we start to repair those core wounds that have been triggered from this betrayal. All of the steps that we've previously talked about can help you do that. You can reclaim your story. And if you need further help on how to do that, check out this video up here.